So on April 1st, a day that is known as April Fool's, where they weren't fooling around with me when I went to get my haircut. They said, you know what, dog? We're going to mess up the beard. We're going to fade incorrectly, and we're going to fuck your beard up. So now I have to go babyface, man. I'm ashamed to put my face on this screen right now, but I have to because the bald man right here, Dana White, made some fight announcements, and anytime it's on April 1st, we always got to be a little bit shy, man. We're like, is this real? Is this, why are you going to do this on April 1st? You couldn't have waited until tomorrow, the day after? But anyway, we got some interesting fight announcements, and I'm waiting for all the raging people out there that are going to go, Merab versus Sean O'Malley. What a disgrace. What an abomination. What a this, what a that. Stop fucking playing around, man. Honestly, shut up, because we all knew that this was going to happen. Should it be happening? There's an argument that it could, but there's also a really good argument that it shouldn't be happening. And we knew that this was going to happen. We absolutely knew that this fight was going to happen. So don't act shocked. We knew it was going to happen. But listen, I understand it's frustrating because we could have had Petr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili, but I do believe that there is an element of the UFC not wanting to run that back right now because Yan got 50-45'd by Merab, right? So I don't want to see that again. I know none of you do, right? Could Yan win a rematch? Sure, doubt it. Sean O'Malley actually had a pretty decent fight with Merab. If you go back and watch it, it wasn't this total one-sided domination that a lot of people, I think, believe. While Merab did very much win the fight, Sean still had moments. He was punishing the midsection of Merab Dvalishvili, and I think with a little bit of a more aggressive style, he could give himself a better chance. Although, I don't know that it's going to favor Sean O'Malley in a rematch. We'll talk about it in just a few here. And then we have, so there's the main event there. Co-main event, we have Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. This is a fight that I was really looking forward to in women's MMA because ever since I was watching Kayla Harrison over in the PFL, she is someone that is just a different breed. She is spectacular. She's incredibly physically strong. She is a very, very dangerous grappler. And now that she's in the UFC, right, because at the time that she was in the PFL, ground and pound was very much hindered, right? They weren't really allowing you to uncork ground and pound because there was limitation with elbows and all those different things. So her coming to the UFC, I couldn't wait to see how that would translate. She has been a wrecking ball since coming into the UFC. And Juliana Pena, she's someone that a lot of people can't stand, right? She tries to talk shit, and it sometimes makes it interesting, sometimes it makes it annoying, but at least she's trying to make it exciting, I guess, right? And Juliana Pena's kind of got that dog type of attitude. She moves forward. She's not afraid of a fight. I think she's in for it here with Kayla Harrison. So we'll discuss that. And then the new UFC Kansas City main event is going to be Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Prates. Now you might say, well, this came out of nowhere. How the hell did this happen? Well, Ian Machado Garry was not even scheduled to fight anybody. It was supposed to be Jamal Hill versus Khalil Roundtree as the main event for this card here. And then Jamal Hill gets injured. So the fight falls off the card. Carlos Prates is supposed to be fighting Jeff Neal at UFC 314 in Miami. Neal pulls out with an injury, or, he pulled out of the fight. I think it was an injury. So now we get Carlos Prates in there, who's one of the most dangerous strikers on the rise in the welterweight division. And Ian Machado Garry, who just lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov, he says, you know what? Give me another dangerous guy on the rise in the division, and I'm going to show you what I'm made of. All the respect to Ian Garry, man. You can say whatever you want about this guy. He is a skilled fighter, and he is someone that I think has a lot of potential. I don't know if he's going to be a champion considering how good the welterweight division is. Mad respect for taking this fight because a lot of people are ducking, dipping, and dodging Carlos Prates, and I can't even lie, man. Would you be ducking and dodging Carlos Prates? Maybe not, but look, he's dangerous, man. Not a lot of guys are super excited to get a Carlos Prates type of matchup. So these are the fights. Let's discuss them. Main event, Merab Dvalishvili, Sean O'Malley 2. We knew this fight was happening. And here's my take on it. I don't know exactly how Sean O'Malley wins this fight because while I think that, yes, there are some adjustments that he could make, looking back on fight number one, he was landing some really good front kicks to the body of Merab, punishing the midsection as the fight played out. He didn't take a lot of damage Sean didn't take a lot of damage. And I know that that's not the forte of Merab Dvalishvili. It's basically a dominant decision loss is what you're looking at when you go into a fight with Merab Dvalishvili, usually, right? But Merab, he's coming off of, I would say, the biggest fight of his career against Umar Nurmagomedov. Some people are going to say it was the first O'Malley fight at the Sphere. And yeah, that was a big moment. But the way that they built up the Merab versus Umar fight, you have to be mad first. You have to be mad first. Like that whole buildup, it got kind of personal, right? It had this fun buildup to where that was the fight that people were really looking forward to at UFC 311, right? So that kind of stole the show a little bit to where I think that kind of took Merab to a little bit of a different level. He had a very competitive fight with Umar Nurmagomedov to where there's an argument that Umar won the fight, right? But again, Merab ended up winning, and he did a very good job as the fight played out, utilizing the pace, utilizing the wrestling, and just not letting go off of the pace man with Umar Nurmagomedov and doing basically what we know Merab does. How does Sean win a fight against a guy like Merab? He has to maintain range, has to sit on the outside, but he also has to take chances, because if he doesn't, I don't see how he really wins a decision over Merab, because the way that Dvalishvili operates, he moves forward, the relentless style, doesn't get tired, has has a pretty damn good chin. He ate some really good shots from Umar, and it didn't really faze him too much. So he's a guy that is very hard to put away. He's not going to stop moving forward. He has the wrestling advantage. His striking is actually improving. So I look at this as O'Malley's basically just going to have to land a shot. I think he's going to try to go back to the midsection with those front kicks. He's going to try to, walk him into a big shot, try to set him up. And look, Sean O'Malley, he's, taking things really serious. He's saying that he's like taking a break from social media, all these different things to prepare for this, right? We said that a while ago. I do think Sean has a chance to win this fight because while, yes, they're forcing the Sean O'Malley star issue onto us, and he's really not a star. I think he's a, kind of a name, right? And I do think that he is an exceptional talent. It's hard to see him winning this fight, man. Like, are you going to KO Merab? Like, I feel like that's his only path to victory. I don't think that he's able to score Merab over 25 minutes because O'Malley, while he does have a pretty solid gas tank, Merab's is just the next level. And as the fight plays out, he can put his foot on the gas and start to drown Sean O'Malley with the pace. But we saw in fight one that Sean was actually doing a good job in the later rounds. So I don't know that he's able to outscore Merab because Merab is going to take him down. He is going to mix things up, and he is going to be moving forward, bouncing around, fighting, I would presume, a lot of how he did in the very first fight. So I think that this is a very hard fight for Sean O'Malley. I'm not saying he can't do it because I think that the guy is a special talent. I think that he is one of the best fighters in the division, obviously. I think he's one of the best strikers in the UFC. And if he's able to keep Merab at range, if he's able to operate in space, find a shot, I think that he could win this fight. But considering what we just saw against Umar, I thought Umar was the guy to beat Merab. And Merab went out there and beat Umar. So the way that O'Malley fights, the way his skill set is, maybe he's able to pick apart Merab and win some sort of decision. Maybe he's able to find a shot. I just see it playing out very similar to how it went the very first time. And I think Merab's confidence is only growing. I think his skill set is getting better from being the champion. We know guys become champion, and it kind of elevates him to a degree. So I think we're looking at an early look here. I'm leaning towards Merab again by a decision. I think O'Malley's going to need a finish to get this one done. But look, I would have loved to have seen Merab versus someone like a Petr Yan, or, at some point I would love to see Umar versus Merab run that one back because that was an amazing matchup. That was one of my favorite bantamweight fights of all time. But this is a fight that we knew was going to happen. It's just crazy whenever O'Malley wins the title, cherry picks a title defense against Marlon Chito Vera, which, yeah, the UFC orchestrates that, right? That was all about getting O'Malley a free title win, help building the star that is, into O'Malley. Cherry pick the title defense, then they actually have him fight the number one guy, Merab Dvalishvili, and he loses at the Sphere. That entire thing, the Sphere they built out, but they made O'Malley the headliner because they were trying to send him, catapult him kind of into the stratosphere, so to speak. Didn't work out. This is take two for Sean O'Malley. I think that there's a chance he could do it, but I just think that Merab, the way that he's operating right now, it's going to be a lot, man. And if you're beating Umar, and even though I thought that there's definitely an argument that Umar could have won that fight, Merab still won at the end of the day. The judges gave him the nod. And if you're beating Umar, I thought that was the guy that could get it done. I just don't know if O'Malley has the ability to do it. Even though he had a good fight one, I just don't know. I think Merab is also elevating his game as well. I think O'Malley's going to need a KO to get it done. Co-main event. Juliana Pena, Kayla Harrison. What does Juliana Pena do a very good job of? Moving forward, biting down on the mouthpiece, turning it into a dogfight. Are you going to move forward and try to turn it into a dogfight against Kayla Harrison? I just don't see how that goes well at all. Kayla Harrison is way stronger than her. She's a way better grappler than her. Maybe you could say Pena, maybe she might have better submissions or whatever. The judo skills of Kayla Harrison, the wrestling and the overall strength that Kayla brings to the table, she is a freak athlete. I think she is going to toss around Juliana Pena, just ragdoll her around. I don't think that Pena really has much for Kayla Harrison in this fight, although if Juliana is able to keep it on the feet, I do think that she could outstrike Kayla Harrison, even though Kayla's striking has kind of came around over her past few fights. I still don't think it's particularly good. And I think on the feet, Juliana might have a slight edge there, right? Because we've seen Juliana Pena in the Amanda Nunes fight, right? We've seen her have some decent moments on the feet, but I don't think she's particularly great. I think that she's just gritty. She's durable. She has this warrior mindset. She will not back down. And that's what you have to absolutely recognize with Juliana Pena is she will do whatever it takes to go in there and get a victory. Off of her last performance, didn't really like what we saw. And I don't think grit is able to elevate you to win a fight over Kayla Harrison, who's just an absolute freak, who, again, in my opinion, like I've said since the very beginning, her biggest enemy or toughest opponent is just making the damn weight. That is Kayla Harrison's really biggest opposition, in my opinion, at bantamweight, is just making the damn weight. As long as she can do that comfortably and it doesn't completely destroy her, I think she goes in there and absolutely destroys Juliana Pena. Takes her down, beats her up with ground and pound. This isn't when Kayla was back in the PFL and, had to be hesitant with what she could do in terms of the ground and pound. No, she can uncork elbows when she gets in full mount. She can, it's just a disaster here for Pena. And again, Pena's tough and you never know, fight's fight. I think Kayla Harrison wins by total domination. I think that she's one of the best female fighters on the planet. Couldn't wait for her to get to the UFC. I had nerves in the beginning when she fought Holly Holm. How, her cutting so much weight, how's that going to pan out? Seems like they have the weight cut thing figured out. Then Kayla Harrison dominates her. Okay, last but not least, we have Ian Garry versus Carlos Prates. Like I said, mad respect to Ian Garry for taking this fight. Decided to, step in there against Shavkat Rakhmonov. He was supposed to fight Buckley. Then he goes in there and fights Shavkat. Now he's fighting Prates. Garry is willing to step in there and fight absolutely anybody. And we have welterweights out there that talk a big game, like a guy like a Colby Covington, who's like, I'll fight this guy, that guy. Now he's calling out a bunch of fighters that are maybe retired, old heads. He's looking for favorable matchups at this point because he recognizes that he's not really a contender anymore. But the fact is, Colby has ducked a lot of the opposition. He took the fight on short notice against Joaquin Buckley because the UFC kind of backed him into a situation there. But at the end of the day, he still showed up and took the fight. So we have to give, Colby the due there. But these are guys that a lot of these other dudes, man, they're not excited to take these fights. And Ian Garry is willing to fight absolutely anybody. And that's what I love about Garry. And he finds himself in a very interesting matchup here with Prates, who is an outstanding guy in terms of and he's just an outstanding fighter, man. He's got a terrific Muay Thai technique. He's got outstanding power in his hands. His kicks are fast. He's got power in everything he does. And his range management is excellent. And he's a fighting nerds guy. Those dudes are they're built different, man. It's like they're in a lab picking and choosing and creating these super fighters is what it seems, right? I mean, Jean Silva, Mauricio Ruffi, Kyle Bahalio, Carlos Prates, these dudes are, they're savages, man. They're absolute savages. And this is an exciting fight to me. I think Ian Garry's going to try to sit on the outside, stick and move and fight at range. And I could see, they got, you got 25 minutes to work with. And I think that the longer the fight goes, that favors Ian. I think Ian, over the course of 5 rounds, will do better than Carlos Prates. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Because if the fight gets into later rounds, I just see that as an area to where Garry can capitalize. He can stick and move, blast kicks to the body because it's going to be that open stance battle to where Gary's an orthodox, Carlos Prates is a southpaw. So now the rear hand is a weapon and the rear kick to the body or to the head is now a big weapon, which both of these guys love to use that. I just think that the power of Carlos Prates, the streak that he is on right now and how dangerous he is when it comes to the striking, I just think it's going to be a problem for Ian Garry, man. I know Ian Garry is smooth on the feet. He's he sticks and moves, and he can win in terms of the points game, but he's not exactly a KO artist. I know he's had some moments where he's able to put guys out, but against an elite level striker in the division, which I think Prates is basically there. I think when it comes to the Muay Thai, he's got an extensive, Muay Thai. He's a guy that has a striking background. We've seen him compete, in those sports, right? So he's a striking based guy, and he has, in my opinion, the advantage there. I know Ian Garry's fast. I know he's a good striker and this and that. But if you turn it into a boxing match, you make Ian uncomfortable. You get to the inside, he's just not the same kind of fighter. And I know Carlos Prates, we haven't seen a ton of grappling from him, but I think his grappling is good enough to where if Ian does try to mix it up to not allow Prates to just move forward and let that power go, I don't know that his grappling will trouble Carlos. And I think Carlos's grappling has came along enough. And he's over with the fighting nerds. I assume that his grappling is pretty solid. We haven't seen too much of it because he's just getting guys out of there. But I think the power is different. I think that the confidence he has is different. And something about Carlos Prates just spells X factor to me. It factor. I believe that this guy has that. Mauricio Rufy, all of these guys at the Fighting Nerds camp, man, it's hard to pick against him right now. They're all flying in hot. They're all, riding momentum, and they're all dangerous in their own ways. I think Carlos Prates is able to finish Ian Garry. I really do. And I think if it goes into the later rounds, I don't see Carlos doing very, very well as the fight plays out. Maybe, but we haven't seen a ton of work from him as the fight plays out. We've seen that from Ian Garry thus far. But I think that if it goes the distance, I think Ian Garry can get it done. But I think Carlos Prates finds a finish. Ian Garry is hittable. He is smooth on the feet. He is fast. He is rangy. I think Carlos Prates will have an answer for that. So I'm early look. I think Carlos Prates is able to get a finish. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Let me know what you think of the fight announcements down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss an upload. I would appreciate it. See you next time.